Excuse me, sir. Sir?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, sir, you can start it, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Sir, do you want to share the screen?
Yeah, after some time.
Okay, fine, sir. I'll make it. Okay, fine, sir. I'll make it the
Oh,
presenter. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. Okay, just a second. So hello everyone. I hope you all are happy and safe. My name is Yogesh, and I am a core team member of VLink. A big welcome. First of all, a big welcome to all, and then a big welcome to our today's guest, Ravindra Pande sir. Ravindra sir is really a renaissance. I mean, sir has been through a frank journey. He is running a company called India Training Services and also been in this field of AI, BI for more than 10 years or now. As the session will proceed, the audience will follow and we'll try to grab most out of it. So let us start with the session, sir. Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
Ravindra
here.
sir. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Should I
amazing.
start my
Okay.
presentation?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Okay. Could you see my presentation?
Just a second. Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay,
Amazing.
great. So this is basically, we are
So,
talking.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, no, yeah, okay, fine. So my very first question to you is, we all must have come across the basic definition of, artificial intelligence. With such a huge experience in this field, how will you define this AI?
Okay, yes. Let's try to talk about AI, right? AI is a really big domain we are talking about here. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to understand how the artificialness of intelligence we can bring in into the various systems, right? So we are talking about various system to be enabled with intelligence, and that's the basic proposition we are talking about. So these are basically digital system we are talking about. These are basically system we have certain operational influence. That's what we are talking about, built into with some intelligence, at least some basic intelligence. Now we have category of intelligence starting from basic responsive system, basic reasoning system, basic generalized learning or generalized responding system, right? So in this way, if you want to really look at the artificial intelligence, I believe you could see my slide on the overall data processing in terms of AI, right? So how do we work out? Let's take a simple example of a typical laptop or a smartphone for that matters. So how we can build intelligence into it? We had certain intelligence built into it over the years, but let's try to understand the evolution part of it. How and why those kind of scenario, right? So let's start with how do we start normally. So what we normally learn for our experiences, right? That's how we evolve as in humans. Be it something like a
Mhm.
kid. If you see a kid growing on, his or her mom basically guides him on day in day out how to eat, how to walk, how to do other things, and how to learn these things also. So learning is basically your brain is trying to conceiving these things step by step. What you can say, cognitive ability get developed with response and reactions and response. This is how we do. So what do you how do you do this thing in digital systems? We try to collect data. We try to build in some way of database decision making. So you basically try to collect these data, kind of user generated database, user generated files, and then you try to create some reactive systems. How do you react? You
Mhm.
react with moving, your reaction with storage, your reaction with going from one point to another, and so on and so forth. And there are some action we can inbuilt into these systems. Now we are talking about machines. So how do we do it
Mhm.
in machines? There are some repetitive activities which we are programmed. So if I clap twice, you should switch on the light, something like this. So we are trying to generate these kind of intelligence into system, right? This is a simple example, right? Clap double and the
Okay.
light should go on. Clap double, the light should go off. As simple as that. This is what we call simple decision, nodes. How do you build in a typical scenario? And you can do it with smartphone. There are smart bulbs available on Amazon in which you can do these things. Right? We have started already working with something like smart home, smart different small Internet of Things based smaller things. This is how we do it, and this is how the programming also gets worked out. So you try to build some analytics, you try to build some reactive matrices, that's how they call it. You try to build some decision nodes, segments, and you try to build this training data, or building this training data step by step, and that's how we learn. The next step is basically how you can do it effectively, how you can do with complex things. So we try to learn with some algorithm, we try to build in some functionalities, we use some mathematical function, we use some algorithms, and this is what we are stepping into, basically the ML part of it, the artificial intelligence with machine learning. Now you're having, trying to build in streamlining of a system learning, and then we get categorized it to deep learning and various other types of learning. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly. That was amazing. Like you told that the bulbs that were available on Amazon. I think most of the candidates will be looking for that now. Okay. So the another part goes this way, sir. The another term which we usually use with the AI is neural networks, right? So what is an
Right.
artificial intelligence neural networks? Like, can you please elaborate or put some light on it?
Sure, definitely. Now, how
Yeah.
this, we try to analyze human brain. We dissected it. We try to understand how this human brain works in terms of learning. So we had some, even various doctors closely working with some data scientists, and what they come up with is neural network theory. The way our human brains capture these learnings, the response, the repetitive things. When you say basically, trying to understand or build the, better. Uh, Better learning abilities day by day, because even in humans, what we can find, there are certain humans can learn faster, there are certain humans who learn slower. So we have analyzed this learning capability of a human, and we build a theory called neural network, right? So what does neural
Okay.
networks does? We try to have a decision making sequence, we try to understand how these decisions are made, how these electrical impulses are formed in the brain, and how they are stored. And we build similar system with digital, let's say it's a part of robotics, and this is how we basically build this decision making or node based decision type of system. That's what we use in neural
Right.
networks.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it makes sense.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir, I think you are presenting the screen, right? But the slide is on the like वहाँ पे से first slide
Yeah,
ही अभी तक
I
दिख रहा
think
है. Have you-
I have built in my thought process. I think there could be some
Okay,
sequential challenges. Let me go
sure,
into this
sure.
agenda thing basically. Yeah, please go ahead. I
Exactly.
think let's this question and answer sounds okay.
Okay.
Participant can
Sure.
answer questions. Ask questions. That's also okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, obviously. So the another way, which we got through was there has been a striking name from past 1 year, like COVID-19, right? Which is nothing but a
Mhm.
virus. So similarly, there are viruses which harm your computer systems. Malware is the one of the most heard terms when it comes to viruses and antiviruses, right? What exactly is
Right.
malware? What are the types of malware do we have, and how to? It's very it's not ethical to ask this, but how to create a virus?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try to understand the virus definition first. What do you mean by
Huh.
virus? There are some antibodies create some disturbances. Let's call it a disturbance. So if I'm let's say having a disturbance in doing my daily duties, you can call it as an virus have been infected. Similarly, on our digital system, if there's any damage or any hindrances to your day-to-day workout, we normally label it as it can be a virus, or there are certain software program which are disturbing these normal function of a system for its optimum capacity.
Okay.
like we can understand the COVID one. So COVID, what it does, it basically attacks your the sinus system, attacks your brain, attacks your body heat balancing system, and so on and so forth. And it attacks your overall what you can say that immunity power as well, so that it can sustain or capture your body for a longer time. It's what you can say
Okay.
evolved virus. So our system also have to have evolved, right? So if you look at overall,
Okay.
understanding of malware, understanding of various virus detection system, let's start working on these things basically. So what are the malwares we are talking about, right? It goes to the first directly. Okay, no problem. So let's try to understand and try to define what is a malware, right? So malware, or what you
Okay.
can say malicious software, it's a software
Okay.
to design infiltrate damage to a computer system without owner's consent. That's the most crucial part here. Sorry, you want to say something?
No, no, sir. Please go on.
Okay, no problem. So this is what we are
Yeah.
talking about as a malware. So
Mhm.
virus can be a malware, or malware can be a software program, or a part of software code which tend to disturbs the system performance without owner's consent. So if owners have given any consent, like you can hack my system, then it's not a malware. Then what you're saying is called system testing. You call penetration testing. You call vulnerability testing. So there are very little gap over here. And as an engineering student, we need to understand. So when you give an agreement, then the hacking might call as a testing. But when you haven't give a what you can say agreement to the hacker, or anybody who is basically trying to infect your smartphone, laptop, or whatever digital device you have, it's called hacking, or it's called malware intrusions in a typical digital world. So malware is a malicious software that get installed on your device and performs unwanted tasks. Now let's try to understand what is installation of a malware does. We try to install many programs throughout the day. Whenever you work on a laptop, there are some patches, there are some antivirus hacks, uh, there are some new software you install, be it a WhatsApp, be it Instagram, WhatsApp Messenger, Facebook Messenger, Facebook additions, and so on and so forth. So there are 100 different things we do with our computer. So if any of these updates have a malware inside it, we don't know. There are ways and means to tag this thing, but still day in day out there are, this is like police versus thieves, right? Thieves can have another way of intrusions, and police will build some more what you can say testing or reaction, or proactive reaction methodology, and that's how we are working on. This is also kind of balancing act we do, as in you can call it hackers, you can call it antivirus programmers, or sorry, ethical hackers, or antivirus programmers, or antivirus solutioning systems. These kind of doing this balancing act. So if you're a thief, you might know what are the things the police can track you, so you try to cover your tracks in a way, but still police at the end of the day will catch you, or the judiciary system will catch you one way or the other. This is normally happens in the real world also, same in a digital world. So what we do, we'll try to go through those step by step, right? Now malware is basically designed to transmit information predominantly, because even if you control a system, that doesn't harm in any way. These system are multi-processor, multi-thread, and all those multitasking system. So even if one tries to have a look at your system, that doesn't actually damage your system anyway. But if he or she is trying to steal your data, steal your information, then there starts the actually problem generation or the challenge generation, right? Let me go to the next slide. Let's try to understand what type of these malware, any uh, let's call them thieves, or digital thieves or something, they can create, right? Let's try to understand. So this malware can be in a form of virus, worms, rabbits, Trojan horses, exploits or backdoor, rootkits, keyloggers or dialers or havoxes. See, these names have come up throughout the years. So there is no one way to describe each and every of such thing. So virus, as we seen, anything which disturbs the efficiency, performance, functioning is a virus. Same thing with the worms. But worms can, basically try to get infected whenever you connect to the network, and so on and so forth. So these names basically does depict a bit of smaller differences within themselves. But overall, in all, we are trying to have anything which disturbs my functionality. I can name it as a virus or a bad thing, frankly speaking. So any bad thing, it can be typical cough, it can be a typical headache. I might call it as a virus, and many things which are get handled by the antivirus system in system. If you install any solution, might be something like quick might be something like McAfee, NDDs, not an antivirus, and so on and so forth. There are thousands of these softwares available, and now they are getting better because they're trying to use this AI as well into that, because we know the normal functionality, right? We try to understand how this affects my system. So I know the way to how to analyze this, how to control this, how to make sure these things don't happen. So what I'll do, I'll try to check out whoever is delivering program. I try to ask them, is the program last updated with this date? Is the program is of these volumes? Is the program takes this much memory, and so on and so forth. So internally, even each and every OS, when you say a trusted product, Microsoft have gather this information prior to installing or delivering or distributing any system. Same thing with Google Play Store. They check these what they call program or executable checks. They have around I think 150 odds these checks they do on day in day out basis. So whenever you try to create a game and try to deploy it on a Google Play Store, you'll come across these checks, like how these checks really get checked in a real life, and what are the most critical. There are some cosmetics and so on and so forth. So they've built these chips just to make sure whatever we know, our house shouldn't get robbed with that similar scenario. So we are learning from our past. Again, that's how this AI kicks in. So when you say we are learning for our past, we are learning for experiences, this is how the artificial intelligence gets started building in our these digital solution providers also. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Anybody have any
fascinating.
questions? Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, please.
No. If anybody have any questions, they can obviously ask. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I have the next for you, sir. So carrying forward, yeah, our discussion about how the virus and why the virus. I think with the evolution of technology, the virus also tried to upgrade themselves to keep on
Exactly.
destroying the system structure. Yeah,
Right.
is it really true about viruses and how it is?
Yeah, very true. It's a normal scenario, right? Like we talked about thief and
Okay.
police, right? And this is a balancing
Yeah.
act we are doing basically day in day out. Similar antivirus as well, and that's why here of AI, because there are new learnings day by day. There are new learnings second by second. We are working in a global environment, right? And nowadays. They go online, so doctor come into Zoom meeting, they ask you these things. Even clear judicially trials they've shifted online, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to adapt online ways and means for our life, right? So yes, they are also evolving in terms of thieves or bad people, right? So we need to understand their mentality. We need to understand and solve or tackle these added challenges. That's what I'll say. And how do we do it? Let's try to discuss on that. Okay, now let's try to understand what are the infection strategies these bad people can use. Let's try to understand that. Let's take a second and think on these lines. So we are talking about some residences and non-residences. Residence means they are into your system, and non-residents mean they are not into your system, but they are on the network, or they can be attached to or appended to the executable files, or appended to your search results, or appended to a file coming to you. It can be something like this presentation. It can be something like a new APK you downloaded, or a new messenger you downloaded, and so on and so forth. So these are basically let's try to understand one by one. Non-residents basically don't reside on your mobile. So once you restart your mobile or your laptop, the virus is gone, because they are not programmed to reside in a memory or write themselves somewhere. They are volatile. That's what we call. We heard about volatile memory and non-volatile memory. I think everybody knows. So I'm take it for granted. Similarly, there are some resident virus and similar non-resident virus. The dangerous one are resident one, which basically try to write down somewhere in the static memory, might be a hard drive, file, folder, or something like that. And these are dangerous because these are fast infectors. Whenever they get triggered, whenever you open that exe, whenever you open that Excel sheet, whenever you open that presentation, they start spreading. And there are some slow infectors also. What they do, they collect data. They most probably share data with the owners. Now these slow infectors are bigger in size because they wait and watch, they learn. They also part of a AI type of programming techniques. These are more dangerous because you won't get to know about them right away. So we have to have our antivirus program have to search of each and every of these files. If you know previously, if you look at the antivirus, let's say 5 years before, let's say 2015, 2014, these antivirus used to check mostly what you call CRC check. So they used to check the number of bytes, the volume, memory capacity, the length of the file, and how much memory is consumed whenever it loaded. And that used to be more than enough to check out if this file is infected or not. But nowadays they try to compress the inner data because almost all the programs are multi-threaded. So if the owners give you a threading count of 16, there could be a extra threading loop, and which could trigger the 16 to 17. And this is a normal scenario because not every programmer stick to the programming standards. So for one or two threads, even the antivirus won't basically uh, kill the basic execution of any file. But if the thread count can go to double or more than 50%, then they start questioning the thread execution, questioning the queue which are being executed by the processor, because then it's hampering the system performance, right? Because as per the specification, if your program is supposed to utilize, let's say, 150 threads, and it starts using 200 threads, then the antivirus nowadays gets triggered and kill the exe or keep the exe in a wait, and they'll just share the pipe of only 150 queues given to the processors. And this is how actually happening. And this is how we're going to learn today how we can do it, how we can effectively control such slow infector, because these are the one of the most dangerous ones. Fast infector, you can really get to know whenever that file comes to your system. And all antivirus, as we know, right, whenever you install something, that antivirus pop in. Okay, now the file is safe. Now how what do you mean by that file is safe? Because they've changed this check this memory allocation as per the requirements mentioned for that given exe file, or the spreadsheets, or the Excel sheet, or presentation, whatever it may be. And if it complies with their normal standards, they say, okay, this is safe to open. This is how you basically build this antivirus, right? Because we need to check for all and any disturbances after whatever you collected from the net, collected from a friend or a foe, whatever it may be. And this is how we are doing. So we had a look at about infection strategies, right? Let's try to go take a step ahead. Now there are certain methodologies which are evolved over the time, how we check these things, right? So there are heuristics method to solve a problem, which we can say an informal method, and we normally build these methods like an optimal solution. Whatever I have been discussing with you is basically tried and tested methodology, right? And there are some 150 odd combination, which is each and every antivirus checks whenever you have these things coming to your system, coming to your phone via network. And this is how we build in. And then something like meta heuristic. Now if all thieves or all these bad people, they also know how antivirus work. They also know the 150 way or 160 way, right? So they might come up with 117th way to infect your system. So how do you tackle that? Now we have something called meta heuristic method. Is basically a kind of try to build some advanced methodology, or try to apply certain problems within ourselves, within our try to build some specific algorithms or heuristics checks on fly for a particular domain. Let's say a banking system. I believe there are many SBI users now, right? Now, how does SBI uses meta heuristics? If you enter your password or a PIN 3 times wrong, they block your ID, they block your ATM card for 24 hours. So how does this help you? Because wherever such thing happen, and if you get a message, you have and you get an SMS, I believe it's really good way they've done this thing. And that's why, well, it kills on efficiency in terms of banking, but it really makes sure whatever user, if he's not trying to key in the ATM pin, he'll directly call SBI helpline and tell them, boss, please block my card and I'm going to get a new card. And this is how they're enabling you, they are enabling the users, specifically the elder users, saying if you have certain something like these messages, please contact us. And this is how they will make sure the card get replaced. So that we are building this meta heuristics method as per the need, and we are building these algorithms over and above the heuristic system. So this is how we are progressing in terms of tackling various malwares, various worst practices, right? Even all the physical vulnerability also hamper us, right? So these methodology also get addressed by many physical intrusion system, the physical vulnerabilities, or physical database backup and restore system as well, because many time the restore and backup programs are getting infected nowadays, and that's the most important part. Even NASCOM have built in its latest digital edition. Like, these are the more occurrences throughout our Indian or Asian continent, to have viruses attached to these backup and restore programs. So if you are using any backup and restore program, please get from a noted vendor. Don't go for any Tom, Dick and Harry and purchase that backup and restore program, because there are major chances it might get infected with a virus, because they don't follow those standardized secure coding practices and all those things. Okay, because I want you to enable with all these system, I want you to enable with all these hacking and the strategies which we can fight it with on day-to-day basis as well, right? Now let's try to understand these meta heuristics in bit how we tackle these things, right, in a strategic way. Let's try to understand. So how do we do it? So we try to analyze the pattern of these wrong guys, how they are trying to attack, how they're trying to build the attack, and we start preventing those attacks from these patterns, because we learn from our experiences. We have, let's say, around 20-25 patterns of these vulnerability checks
Excuse me, sir, you're on mute.
Uh, no, I think that sir has left the meeting. एक minute. I'll just check. Hello, Ravindra sir. I think your mic is mute, sir. Hello. Sir, we are not able to hear you.
I don't know how I got
Hello.
muted. Okay, sure, no problem. Can you
Yeah.
able to hear me now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Audible.
so what? Go ahead, please.
Okay. You are explaining something, right?
Yes, yes, sorry, huh. So I was talking about the NLP built in into Google Pay, GPay, what we call normally. So it's one of the most secure, payment thing, even secure than the SBI one also. And try to visit these sites. Basically, even government have many really great site in terms of enabling, cyber security and all those things. So try to visit this site at least once in a month. As an engineer, we should be enabled us ourselves with these, how NLP is getting applied to something like GPay, how NLP is getting applied to secure banking with SBI, and these are the most steadier bank. Well, they are not as quick as in privatized bank, but they are more secure, more stable in for our day-to-day banking also. So these kind of stuff. And yes, there are overall environment evaluation we do. We have certain vulnerability testing, building strategies, building pre-programmed test cases which we run on all these networking sites, networking APKs, and that we will make sure before delivering these sites, before delivering this new updated APK, they are fail safe in terms of the patterns we've learned earlier, the way of attacking we've improved earlier, and so on and so forth. So we keep on improving day in day out, and that's how even the digital community helping us out in building some better antivirus software, building some better anti vulnerability solutions, and so on and so forth. And yes, there are quite a few good models available. If you want to read on that, read on something like Moko's model. They've built some models according to these vulnerability solutions. So how an AI can basically prevent the antivirus. Even there are certain models which take which will make sure the antivirus software will be get kicked out. Means yeah, there are certain groups we are trying to work on that. So the OS itself will have all these methodologies or the programs inbuilt in the OS, because OS works very closely with the firmware, right? We all know as an engineers, and I believe there are quite a few computer science graduates here who can basically guide you how the OS can at its kernel level or at its overall environmental variable levels can tackle all these things very effectively than the antivirus software which sits on the seventh layer. So this is how we are trying to build better and better antivirus software. And now there are many who can tell you like, okay, antivirus software is going to be history. Yeah, I don't want to take side as of now, but yeah, that can be a really good scenario, because even if you look at Windows 10, which is much stable, and they have inbuilt all these threat mechanism into Windows 10, and Windows 10 itself have antivirus capability, or this threat protection inbuilt into it. So that's how the even OS are also getting affected day by day. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Explanation was really very amazing. This explanation actually proves that God is in the details. Moving on to our next part, like we talked about how AI can improvise security and everything. I think we would require some set of virus detection and virus blocking techniques, right? That we talked about
Right, right.
to detect some
Very right.
virus.
Right.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So what are those and what are they made up of actually?
Sure, sure, no problem. As we
Yeah.
talked about the pattern and repetitively vulnerability attacks, and and repetitively getting what I can say updated by these hackers as well, right? So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to make sure whatever the thief does, the police has to be enabled himself, right? So how do we basically build more and more detections? How we can use some tried and tested methodology, and how we can add it up with them with the additional tools and privilege so that they could tackle it more effectively. Let's try to understand about the general detections, right? And then we can go step by step into it. There are normally, four reasons we typically addresses when it comes to antivirus softwares, right? The number of viruses, whatever have been known previously, they have their own identification mark, their own working, their own patterns, their own signatures also. So we have these things built into our antivirus software, and then they look for all these signatures one by one, and this is how antivirus software scans your file. Okay, and then there are some virus mutants also. Mutants are basically which make these virus hidden, right? We have seen that mutant movie, right? So these what these mutants do, they try to hide their viruses, and they try to share these viruses via networks or via some programs more effectively than the plain viruses. So detection is a bit difficult, but even all these antiviruses, even the operating system have learned about these mutants, their signature, their appearances, and that's how we are improving this system. And development of, we will have look at what it means a polymorphic viruses, and the virus detected at a specific organization or company. So if a specific organization or company, if they are spreading viruses for last couple of days, couple of weeks, everybody in the operating system community, antivirus community will get informed, and they'll start blocking this website, blocking these organizational request calls and all, and that's how it works. And this might take a couple of hours only in nowadays scenario. So if you inform Microsoft that this Russian company or Russian hackers trying to hack all Windows 10 machines with, let's say, Zoom login, like it happened with Zoom actually. This was in last year, I think 2019 November around. Zoom had certain vulnerability inbuilt to its login for streaming data, and that's how it got leaked. And that's why Zoom was really blocked by almost all the OS manufacturer for almost a 2 weeks duration. And then when they Zoom sent the updated version, they have checked those version, and then they start allowing those ports, allowing those streaming data through and forth with these firewalls. And this is how this community are closely working day in day out, and this is how we learn from each and every these specific detection strategies. Does that answer your question? Let's try to understand signature by signature way. And this is how again how we scan the signature. Could you see that hexadecimal figure? It's a Firefly virus signature. This was in 2016, late 2016. This Firefly virus basically were killing in North American region. I don't think we had in India any challenges. There were very few. But in North American, mostly financial institutions get threatened by these things. And it was again, it was what you can say, that a slow virus, right? We talked about this virus. Where was that definition? Let me open that thing. Yeah, this was a slow infector virus, and it used to stay in the system, and it used to get triggered whenever the system is doing his home task. Every operating system has some home task. Like if you leave your laptop unattended, the Windows open system, you can open the task manager and try to look at it. They start some home home task, that's how they call it. So what they does, they try to arrange the scatter data. They try to club the clusters in your hard drive. They try to do the scanning, low priority scanning, like if there are any bad cluster, if OS memory is getting efficiently used, the processor is getting efficiently used. If the processors has some threading problem, they'll try to deprioritize the threads and all. So these home tasks, this virus was basically going at that level. It was really well built virus, and this was again hexadecimal is completely low level system virus, that's what we call it. But yes, this label might change whenever certain scientists describe it in a data science way. So this is how this thing, this is shared by IEEE. I got these details from IEEE site, so I should have written copyright IEEE. But yeah, and IEEE is engineers institute which normally shares this information. And as an engineer, I am attached to it. If you are attached to it, you'll get these if you want to have these virus definition came to your email as well. And it's really good thing if you can get which attached with certain such institution. You can basically build an antivirus software by your own as well. And these are not very difficult things, believe me. It's a basically hype. Antivirus is as simple as, if you know your lock is getting broken on your door, you'll try to put some better lock, right? Or you to try to put couple of more locks, and that's how we improve. Similarly in software program, in digital world, this is how we do. This is how we improve day by day, and that's why this signature does matter. This signature doesn't mean anything if you're not, what you can say, digital communication guy, or if you're never worked with hexadecimal system. So pardon me for that. I believe we have students from all over various different branches. So there might be a scenario you might find it too cryptic. So I try to limit these depiction to two, I believe. And then the other was malinformed signature. This is also a kind of hexadecimal. This is a malware came from a text files. Believe me, even text file which we normally say they are within the parameters of text available on the keyboard. So they they normally don't use any specialized character. If you see here, I believe everybody knows specialized characters, right? There are no specialized character in this as well. But here also, specialized characters are like that at the rate, pound, and various specialized character which we can include in using ASCII keywords on your through your keyboards. But yes, this is like kind of flat text file malware which was spread in, again I think this was also a kind of North American instance, but this was not creating any havoc as such, but these were basically trying to share information. So they built some extra data pipes, and these were really slow or light data pipes, that's what they call. So they had certain way of even measuring the volume for these data pipes or data communication which are created by this malware. So what they say, if your data communication, like if some thread, we have something like try and catch method in our program, if you know. So we try certain things. If you're not working fine, then we'll have certain catch and have another options given within the program. This is how the program works. Now when we build some data pipes, so like in my program, if I'm asking some data from, let's say, a banking system, so give me the user's address so that I can get it verified, or give me second OTP, I can check with the users. Now these are light streams where the text gets communicated. Light in the sense is hardly few kbs. They even not go to 10 or 15 kbs. The communication is lesser than 1 kb, 2 kb, or mostly 10 kb. These are very light data communication type of data pipes we are talking about. These are normally get unnoticed. Even the antivirus software previously, this was also in I think 2007 or 17 or 2018, where we don't have these even light data pipes checked regularly. But nowadays we have even light data pipes have checked regularly, so that because we have those really stronger processors, stronger RAM nowadays, so we can do go to these levels and check each and everything before any vulnerability happens to your digital digital execution of your system as well. So this is how we've enabled these things, what I can say, under detectable things also checked nowadays, and we are enabling this more and more. So day comes, most probably, if I say every byte going in and out of your computer have been monitored by at least by OS. If you don't have any antivirus, well and good, but OS is enabled enough to check out all the vulnerabilities. And as we all know, Windows systems are the most hacked system in the world. So we build this anti-intrusion type of methodology, and they also AI enabled. Means OS, yes, of course, is a big software, but yes, it's already AI enabled, and that's how they are basically trying these specific detections, or they have this inbuilt specific detections lag in them. And as and when progress, that's what these all patches about. What they do, they add these patches to the OS. They add these AI based detections, like this signature get added to the OS database, and they do check out if this communication is going to get added with this sequence, and they say, okay, now the pipe should be broken because it provided something wrong, so we'll request the server another data pipe, and then that pipe will basically start pushing and pulling data. That's how it happens at an OS level. And even antiviruses software, they do some certain checks whenever a complete programs comes to you, because they have certain checks and balances enabled by themselves, so that they can tell you if the file is safe or not. So they have certain 150 plus checks and balances they do on day in day out basis. Now heuristic scanning, how this scanning works, because scanning is important, right? So we have something called conventional viruses. So we know the signature, and we do have these signatures shared all across the world very quickly nowadays. This happens in few hours, believe me. And the OS also basically gets enabled internally within few hours if you apply those requested patches. Now there are some polymorphic viruses. Now let's try to understand what is polymorphic viruses. Polymorphic is basically you're trying to portray yourself as something different. So you try to portray something as um, let's say health expert coming to your house, and he's trying to steal certain things from your house. This is what you call polymorphic. So he's trying to behave to start with as an helping guy, and then he's trying to stealing your things from your house. So polymorphic viruses are something like that. So it might comes to you as a helping hand, as a helping program, or an additional free thing, and then start basically behaving erratically. Means that program might start creating some extra threads, extra network requests, and that's how we detect. And that's how Windows 10, that's how the latest malware system, they tend to detect all these extra value add to a given scenario, and they try to stop the progress. They try to bar the progress for a given instance, and even the next instance, if the same thing happens, they might label that program as a malware. Does this make sense? Am I making sense to you? Or
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
thank you. Thanks a lot. I have no way of knowing if you want something extra, something different from my side, so please guide me on
Yeah,
that.
no worries. Now, to the candidates, to the candidate, guys, you can ask questions. Okay, this is not one-way communication. Okay, you can obviously ask questions. Getting on to the another point, sir. I would really like to ask, like we have been talking about this security, digital security. I think AI, which we talked about few minutes ago, can be used to make the system self-sufficient, right?
Right.
How can we combine both of them? How can we combine both of them to make it a watertight plan?
Mhm. Right. That's really best way of basically building a self-sufficient OS. That's what they are talking about, and that's why there is a group of scientists who believe that AI should be embedded into operating system, and let's not have any additional antivirus software, because antivirus software can be also came with viruses, right, or penetration already penetrated system, or they can give some extra loopholes in terms of access rights to the users or to the organization itself. Like if you install something like don't quote me for that, I'm just taking an example. Let's say I've created a antivirus software from McAfee, and McAfee, one of the data scientists, have built in a vulnerability into that antivirus software, let's say for accessing a typical port for a certain period of time. They could do it, right? So that's why there are community, there are some certain data scientists who are saying antivirus should be part and parcel of the OS, because all these OSs like Windows, Linux, Unix, these have enabled with a huge amount of data scientists, vulnerability lab testing, and all these patterns and NLP based signatures collected in their database. So these are the right guys, or these are the right frontiers to basically check out for antivirus things. And yes, I'm also with them, but let's not what I can say, let's not kill anybody just because I think if this is right or wrong. So there are, let these things evolve, let these things take a center stage, and then the digital community will decide. Okay, now let's try to understand this heuristic scanning. So how do you do it? So we do the pattern matching. We talked about the automatic learning also, that NLP data sharing, the decision note sharing, then even environmental evolution. Let's say tomorrow, I there was a service like YouTube, let's say MyTube, and this is actual example. Actually, MyTube have been infected with a again self executing virus. This was in, I think, 2018 October, and I couldn't recall the exact date though. but this MyTube was infected, and this was specifically for a phone with Android, I think Android 7. And this was a really big challenge because that virus have been infected with all the MyTube servers all over the globe. They had around, I think, 300 plus servers at that time, or 300 plus data center, not the server. So nowadays we all talk data centers as a server, or kind of node from a given physical location. But yes, so and it was enabled for almost twice a week, and it was reported by one of the Russian data scientists to MyTube, saying ki, could we please have a look at this, because I can clearly see during the home tasking there is increase in thread count from MyTube installed APK, saying that they want to do some checking. And what they were used to doing, they're trying to collect information, but the intrusion scientist couldn't, or intrusion hacker couldn't build any mechanism to share that data, or he couldn't basically whatever virus he have deployed it, or whatever malware he will deploy it, which couldn't communicate back the data collected to the user, or he might be building separately on that. They were creating an extra text file on your phone, which was supposed to get shipped back to the hacker, but there was no mechanism, and we detected it quite early. So there was no challenge, or there was no bad thing happened there. But yes, this is what we call even the hackers can what you can say, emulate your environment. And this is why again the scientists came together saying, okay, now let's give this baton to the operating system, so that even operating system have a full power of full hold of firmware, full hold of all these thread counts, core functionalities, core priorities, the instruction queue, if I can use these words, environmental factors, environmental variables. And that's how operating system is the most and strongest contender to have these antivirus system built in within themselves. And that's why we are now basically have these all heuristics scanning capability given to Windows 10. They have already enabled these things. They are working with the NLP and ML libraries. They are already supported with them. They are started shipping this library with different patch, and they have these really step by step assembly level scanning, which you normally don't get notified on your even if you try to basically check out the application level. You have to go to thread level or thread count level. So whenever you're doing this home task, Windows 10 have at least, I think, 10 to 15 threads get triggered for these NAP or MLP MI based scanning signature throughout your PC, and they do it without your notice. And that's how the operating system are helping us day in day out, right? And again, now these are, in addition to that, we have various system inbuilt in OS to trigger an alarm. Rather than going to an antivirus, what if the OS comes to you and saying, okay, I believe you're using financial account, and I can see clearly there are many data channels getting opened than whatever they are they are required. And these type of messages, I think they have already included in Ubuntu, if I'm not mistaken. So Ubuntu, or that Kali Linux, if Kali Linux is basically used for all these threat detection system. It was a specialized OS. So Kali Linux, they have these type of messages coming to your screen. Hey, because I have tested that for ICICI, I have ICICI bank account, and there was some extra these things coming out, so I've reported them. And they have really great data scientist team in Washi, where they check these things. This basically, if you have many connection request for a given instance with the given session variables, that's how we get connected, right? My computer get connected to the Microsoft Teams server with a session variable or session ID. That's what they call in a programming language. And this session ID is on till I'm connected with you. Once my network get down, this session ID gets updated. You'll get second different session ID, and then I have to go to that process again of verification and validation for a number of data pipes, or data streaming builds in with the server and my laptop. And we are going at that level as of now, as of we speaking, and that's how these systems are getting updated day in day out. So we have a better system than yesterday, believe me, and that's how we are progressing. We are recognizing the potential threat much earlier in a days rather than later. So these all antiviruses things are basically more becoming more proactive, more more enabled in a coming days time. So we will require some better data scientists, better such what I can say vulnerability experts. So this is really great career for you, believe me. Means if you want to work on these low level system, understanding how it works, be my guest, it's really right time to go into that, because we are enabling ourselves with various data scientists methodology patterns, NLP, ML libraries. And these are all open system things. Kali Linux is open system. You can install Kali Linux as a virtual MN on your laptop also, and it's not that big. It's not a big like even Ubuntu also. I think Kali Linux is a pretty smaller OS, and they'll enable with you with all these intrusion detection technology, intrusion detection way of how they do what you can say volume scanning, how they do basically the data networks pipe scanning and all those things. So that will enable you to go to a great levels for that matters. And of course malware does evolve. So we have to build certain stealth techniques. We need to build some invisible traditional scanner. So what I do, I scan everything whenever I log in. Whenever I log in, so let's say ICICI Bank, I'll monitor each and every of my network call. So even if I, let's say, if I'm clicking on something like create a new FD, I might be assigned complex session ID. So one session ID plus additional session ID, so that till I'm trying to do financial or digital transaction, and that's how we have that secondary OTP coming to your mobile, to make sure whatever session ID you got connected have to be verified with some alternative methodology also. So that's another session ID which I got from my mobile whenever it pushes the SMS, because that session ID and this session ID get validated at the at the server of ICICI, and then they'll make sure whatever am I doing is correct in all sense, whatever known to me. So this is what we call stealth techniques. These are additional checks and balances we keep building in for all our financial transaction nowadays. Even Google has many years OTP based transaction, and so on and so forth. SBI, Google Pay, I say these are front runners of all these building better and better techniques day by day. And of course we talked about pattern matching. In AI we can use pattern very effectively, because all these nodes and decisions are already collected in a database. They are collected as a text, and this can be shared with a few kilobytes data only, and these are is incremental type of DBs. So they are get added with whatever change, whatever added. So next time whenever I run my virus scan via OS or via as an external software, they'll make sure all these added patterns will get checked. Now if you don't know, every time I log into my OS in the morning, it goes and hit the server at Microsoft and checks out if there are any additional such decision nodes or additional such checkings came into play. And there are certain things where these OSs are also enabled with putting down certain programs from using for certain period of time. This stopped many regions for for spreading damages. And believe me, this has happened actually. So if you get a challenge opening any crucial program, just wait for half an hour or so, because there could be some OS dependent what you can say intrusion checks and balances built for certain that program, which let it complete and then open that program. This happens even with Zoom. Like I think the day before yesterday they had certain challenges, because I have my North American training batch. I normally start my training at 6 a.m. in the morning. So there was some challenges with Windows 10. They said okay, Zoom had certain vulnerability, so they take almost I think 12 minutes to check out those vulnerability for my Zoom version. And then they let me log in. So these things we need to understand, we need to build in as a scientist, as an engineer. I need to understand certain this scenario, because these are built for helping me out in a long run. Okay. And of course, yeah, I can think it as a virus, that also possibility. So but it's like kind of other side of coin as well. But yes, I need to have some patience and get these things on way. And even the Windows 10 basically updates you on certain such initiative if they are taking, and they can basically inform you in great simple English as well. Does that make sense, sir? Are we online? Are we in line
Okay,
with our
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
thinkings?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
I
are
know
ready.
it's
They
too
are
much.
ready.
I'm a very talkative person, so pardon me for that.
No, this is actually interesting. This is going very interesting. Actually, my next question to you, sir. I think it won't be very correct to ask that now. But out of curiosity, I would. Yeah, how can exactly one create an antivirus software? As we took an example, MacCafe. How can one exactly create an antivirus software? Yeah, I know this doesn't make much justice to you, but could you please help us?
Right. We've understood like what is antivirus software and how do we work. So what is the antivirus software? I want to prevent viruses from entering into my system. Be it something like antibiotics for our body. We take antibiotics, right? Everybody know. Antibiotics is kind of antivirus. We build some antibodies within our system to fight those viruses, which are specifically built for. Now there could be some new virus. Like if you know, the COVID virus was treated with malaria drugs whenever it came to India, and it was quite successful. Means many are even many doctors they are still getting treated with malaria vaccines whenever you have COVID for the first few days, and it was quite effective in quite a few places. Means if I can quote the numbers from IMA, the Indian Medical Association, they've clearly mentioned like almost in start there are around 30% of patients' life can be saved with this malaria drug. You can get a malaria antivirus kit uh, at around 50 odd rupees. It's not that costly, and you can basically get more antibiotics if you need, but normally that's not needed. So it's a course of 3 days. Sorry, I'm becoming doctor now, pardon me for that. So these are kind of repetitive tackling mechanism we build, right? And that's what the antivirus software is all about. So what you do, we understand whoever is creating vulnerability or wherever the vulnerability is getting created. I try to stitch up that thing. I try to contend it in a way that my system shouldn't get affected. Even for that matter, using or keying my PIN number in front of everybody is a vulnerability, right? And many still do. Means if you go to ATM and you try to key in your ATM PIN with somebody looking from your shoulder, please don't do that, because these are the vulnerabilities we are creating for ourselves. Unless and until you follow the instructions given by banks, given by these ATM services, he or she can basically knack your card and start using left away, right away, right? Because cards are just a key, and if you tell them how to use that key, they'll start using it, and you might be get robbed with robbed financially. So that's why what I say, antivirus system is a kind of basic way of understanding and making sure whatever I have is safe and secure digitally, and that's what I'm going to do. So antivirus is basically trying to notify the user with any anomaly in terms of system working have been occurred, be it a smartphone, be it a laptop, be it a desktop, whatever it may be. And that's how we are building this antivirus software. So antivirus software can be a simple system monitor tool sitting on your OS, which tells you about any anomaly happening. Might be extra application, extra services getting loaded up, or extra data pipes getting created over the network. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes, exactly. Sir, as the session was organized with a motto to
Uh-huh.
generate interest or put in a spark into the candidates about digital securities, I would really like to ask you what is the factor that interests you to get deeper into this field?
Yes. Well, I believe whoever has some interest, as an let's say hacker, or if they really want to pursue something like hacking, antivirus is just a next step to that. And as I told, right, we are system programmers. So if anybody wants
Hmm.
to work on system programming, low-level programming, yes, they have a really great career as an working with AI as an antivirus. And now mostly the way I'm looking at the trends, AI will be part of the OS. So be it something like Windows 10, be it something like Linux, or open system based OS, which are basically free to use. They'll need
Mhm.
extra such AI, or a data scientist, right? Now
Hmm.
that's what the career opportunities will have in next coming months or years. Believe me, and they are going to be huge, because the way we are using smartphones.
Uh-huh.
Android, like Android is a flavor of Linux only. Means we have a Linux kernel.
Yeah,
If you go to
exactly.
basic core
Exactly.
kernel level, you can clearly see a Linux kernel in Android. It's the smallest kernel. Yes, it's really effective kernel, and it's really a stable OS as of now. And many of the even IoT devices using Android, like the smart TV, we call it Internet of Things, because everything which is connected with the OS, we call it Internet of Things. The OS can be as simple as 20K kernel. There are OSs available of 20K. There are Java based kernels. If they are hardly anything, frankly speaking, in a size wise scenario. And that's how we work, right? So building some antivirus software for something like Android is really huge career opportunity. So you need to understand the vulnerabilities at a data level, at a network level, and try to understand these scenarios. Try to understand how OS works, and that does make that's open up a lot of career options for you as a low-level programmer, as a low-level AI data scientist. Yes, that's a really great career according to me.
Okay. So, sir, like talking about your life, how did you end up here? Like, what are the steps did you take? And even your portfolio is that you hold a degree in cyber law. And you have been continuously progressing and studying about this field and getting more deeper into it. Like, how did you manage all those stuff and how did you get in here?
That's a sheer, what I can say. I'll say luck, and overall the way my likings. So everybody, if
Okay.
you, it's like physically securing a house, right? You secure your house. So how do you secure your house? You have a lock and key. If you go out,
Yeah.
then you make sure your lock is really tightened up. You try to pull it a couple of times whenever you lock it out, right? Same way with the digital system. So if you have a laptop, I'm using a Windows 7 laptop right now, which I know a bit vulnerable, because whatever I'm doing is not that critical. I have another laptop of Windows 10, which I use for my trainings, and where I have all those systems which are even my financial applications and all. I try to use financial application lesser on mobile, and that's because I feel Android is much more accessible to these hackers than Windows 10. And that's how we should learn from our mistake, from our vulnerabilities also, from others vulnerabilities also, for others mistakes as well. So this is how you keep learning, and this is how you keep improving yourself. So rather than talking big, is basically these small things makes your life more secure. And try to address these small things one step at a time, and you'll reach there one day. It might take a couple of days more for you, but yes, you'll reach there with very strong and secure way. That's what I'll say, sir.
Okay, amazing. And sir, I have even heard that during our discussion, I have even heard that you have did some projects with the government bodies, right? Like Maharashtra Police. And so, can you please share your experience there? Like how it is, what Maharashtra Police is into cybersecurity, what they're looking into it, and how they are inclined towards digital. Because there are things that don't come up every day, right?
Yeah, okay. Specifically, Maharashtra Police. Well, I was involved in building this, threat detection system there. So even
Okay.
police servers get hacked, right? Quite a few guys
Yeah.
which are anti-India, or say anti-governmental within our India
Yeah.
itself. So how do we tackle these things? So all these new connection requests, we had built an engine to check out if there's a new connection request, untrusted user for untrusted regions. So we normally track that, tracking. So any new connection, let's say from Serbia, from Syria, or some South African countries, or we try to monitor such data requests coming to our server, and we try to understand what they are requesting, what type of connections they are requesting, what type of data they are requesting. If it's a simple view web page, then okay, you can allow them. But if you really want to go to a level where we can say have to have control requests, have to have update requests, then we have to make sure these requests are validated at couple of levels. So if our, let's say our raw scientist working in Syria want to access some database contacts within ministerial delegates, so how do you do it? So want to make sure, or we want to enable him to do his duties, but for a given reason we might use some different data channel to share data with him rather than through website, and that's how we work out. He might be able to check his mail, or all those encrypted data communication via servers, But otherwise, whatever he needs in terms of data sharing, or any critical information will be shared on a alternative data path rather than whatever you created or whatever initiated by him. And that's what we do. Like we have OTP, right? OTP comes on your mobile, which is a separate data path from the banking application what you're executing on your laptop. Could you understand these differences? So the bank service
Exactly.
getting connected with your mobile service provider, and mobile service provider is going to share an information with you on a separate channel, which is not at all dependent on your laptop connection request, laptop session ID. And that's what I'll make sure only Ravindra Pande can withdraw money from his Ravindra Pande's account, and that's how it happens. And that's how we build some extra checks and balances for such requests coming out of dangerous zones. And that's what we try to do there. So we try to build some vulnerability prevention engines there. And these are again repetitive checks and balances which works in a background, which works closely with operating systems, closely work with server based operating system in these scenarios.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So now this was really an amazing session, sir. Thanks a lot for your time. Actually, this is going to be a memorable one. Now, I would really request candidates, if you have any of the questions, you can obviously ask. Okay. Anyone out there?
I have also put my contacts. You can contact me with this. I have presented my WhatsApp number and as well as Skype ID also. And you can visit my blog. You can join me on LinkedIn as well. So yes, I'll take any questions. I'll stop the presentation basically. Let me do that.
Yeah.
How do you stop? Even I am learning Microsoft Teams. They've improved a lot. How do you stop this presentation? Over here. Oh man.
Sir, when you were talking about NLP, you were muted. Can you repeat that part?
Come again, please.
That NLP part you were saying no. You were muted that time, so couldn't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. Could you please could you recall whenever I was broken down or something? Or should I explain
Sorry,
that
sir.
NLP as
Actually, I got.
go ahead, please. Sorry.
Actually, I disconnected. I didn't hear you. So पहले आपने कुछ तो पूछा था मुझे. So that's why. Yeah, please go ahead.
So let me start basically giving you a basic of NLP. NLP is basically what we call neural linguistic program and neural language processing, right? And here what we do, we try to build in digital processes act as an neural this thing as a brain, right? So what we are trying to do, there's also a psychological branch of NLP. If you know, means even psychologists have a way of how human works for a given NLP based learnings, right? So if there are any what I can say disorders in kids of learning things, right? So that's also get tackled as or labeled as NLPs. But as far as digital communication NLP we are talking about, digital NLP we are talking about, we are typically trying to understand how we can implement these learnings into our digital systems. So we have something like decisions nodes. So like I told you, a simplest example could be something like if I shout out loud, the light should get on, or if I clap twice, the light should get on. These are simply a smart electric bulb which are available on Amazon. Which you can try this, and these are kind of start of NLP. This is a very small system which have something like gate based simple triggering mechanism. Whenever you clap hand, the speakers get these two claps with a kind of voice trigger, and basically triggers diac or a relay which starts the bulb. Normally everything is integrated circuit based delays. We also used to have some mechanical relays previously, but now all are basically a digital based relays which triggers the light on. And now, as we know, LEDs are using really lesser and lesser current day by day. So our integrated circuits can handle those current very effectively. And that's how these lighting systems are becoming smarter and smarter. In case of AIs, the NLP can go to a level where we can basically trying to match those virus signature, trying to match those patterns, trying to match the way the connection requests are made. More connection requests made, or the specific control requests are made from an unknown source or untrusted party, then we are going to track those things day in day out. Does that answer your questions, or does that cover what you missed due to the network challenge?
Thank you, sir.
Most
Yes.
welcome. NLP is really big field. Means if you start learning, there are quite a good amount of papers available on IEEE.org. So if you create a guest ID also, if you don't pay them, they'll give you really great papers to learn NLP. And these are digital communication we are talking about, right? NLP, there's a branch of psychology also. So please don't get confused, because when you search Google with NLP, you normally get landed on those psychological research papers. Anybody else have any question? So Yogesh sir, could we wind up,
Okay,
or
yeah.
please?
Yes. No, I think anyone don't have any questions now. ठीक है, चलेगा. Can I request volunteer over here to continue from here?
Yes, sir. So thank you, Ravindra sir, for this wonderful seminar, and I hope that all the participants must have learned a lot, are curious to learn more. So we'll be ending the meeting now, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for your kind
Thank
words.
you. Thank
Have
you.
a great evening. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.